Hello everyone and welcome to my channel. I hope everyone is having a wonderful day. Before we begin, please hit the subscribe button and give this video a thumbs up. No one could have predicted that the man who had been a pillar of the Spencer family story for years, Lawrence St. Victor, would be the source of the seismic shockwaves. In a shocking announcement that left fans reeling, he announced that he would be leaving Bold and the Beautiful. The decision felt as final as it was heartbreaking. The air in Los Angeles felt heavier than usual, with a charged energy buzzing through Forrester Creations as rumors of upheaval swirled through the halls like an unstoppable storm, shaking the foundations of the show's intricate web of love, betrayal, and ambition. And the timing, as if scripted by fate itself, could not have been more dramatic, because his departure came on the heels of the shocking return of Thomas Forrester, whose unexpected reappearance in Los Angeles sent ripples through every corner of the Spencer and Forrester families, igniting dormant tensions and resurrecting unresolved passions, particularly in the life of Hope Logan, whose heart had already endured enough trials to make her wary of love, but whose connection with Thomas had always lingered like a fragile yet undeniable thread. And now, after years of turmoil, deception, and heartbreak, Thomas, with a newfound maturity and vulnerability that few had witnessed before, sought to make amends with Hope, to repair the fractures that had defined their tumultuous past, and the city watched with bated breath as their reunion unfolded, a delicate dance of tentative smiles, hesitant words, and lingering glances that conveyed volumes. And it was in this emotionally charged context that Carter Walton, the loyal, ever-dedicated attorney whose life had been entwined with both the Spencers and the Forresters, found himself at the epicenter of an emotional maelstrom that threatened to redefine his purpose and legacy on the show. Because Carter, who had long been a steadfast supporter of Hope and Liam's love, who had always strived to navigate the moral and legal complexities of the Forrester and Spencer empires with integrity and a quiet resilience, was now faced with the reality that Lawrence St. Victor's departure would create a void not only in the courtroom battles and personal dramas he had mastered alongside the Spencers, but also in the very heart of the storytelling that had defined Bold and the Beautiful for decades. And as Lawrence's farewell announcement became public, reactions from the cast, the fans, and social media exploded in a mixture of grief, nostalgia, and speculation. Because everyone knew that when Lawrence left, it wasn't just the character of Carter Walton that would be absent. It was the moral compass, the unwavering loyalty, the quiet heroism that had guided countless storylines, and the realization that Carter's final arc would now be forever intertwined with the seismic events set in motion by Thomas's dramatic return, a return that had already forced Hope to confront her deepest fears, her lingering doubts, and the undeniable spark that had never truly faded between them, even as she navigated her feelings for Liam, who, despite his unwavering love and loyalty, found himself suddenly displaced in a love triangle that had grown even more complicated with Thomas back in the picture. And the emotional tension was palpable, not only because of the romantic entanglements, but also because Thomas's return forced the entire Forrester family to reckon with past betrayals, unspoken resentments, and the fragile alliances that had kept the family from imploding entirely. And in the midst of this chaos, Carter's role became pivotal, because as Thomas attempted to patch things with Hope, as he sought forgiveness and understanding, as he tried to demonstrate that he had changed and that his intentions were genuine. It was Carter who found himself caught between professional duty, personal loyalty, and the moral dilemmas that had defined his journey. A man who had always prided himself on his ability to balance ethics with empathy, now forced to navigate a labyrinth of emotion, heartbreak, and reconciliation that tested his own sense of identity, purpose, and worth. And the Shawners, never ones to shy away from heightening the drama to almost unbearable levels, crafted scenes in which Carter, standing in the quiet aftermath of explosive confrontations, would offer hope, counsel, mediate tense encounters with Thomas, and quietly wrestle with his own emotions. Because even though his screen time was nearing an end, even though Lawrence St. Victor had made it clear that he would be stepping away, the character of Carter Walton could not simply disappear without leaving an indelible mark. And so the narrative wove together his final journey with the seismic love triangle of Hope, Liam, and Thomas, threading through courtroom drama, corporate intrigue at Forrester Creations, and private intimate moments that revealed the humanity behind the characters, their flaws, their regrets, and their desires. And fans watched as Carter faced some of his most challenging cases yet, cases that mirrored the emotional battles raging in his personal life. Because just as Thomas sought redemption, just as Hope grappled with forgiveness and the reconciliation of her heart, Carter too was forced to confront the impermanence of relationships, the inevitability of change, and the need to find closure before stepping away. And the emotional crescendo of his storyline reached a point where he, ever the observer of truth and justice, had to make decisions that would influence the futures of those around him, even as he prepared to exit. Decisions that would cement his legacy, not through flamboyant heroics or shocking betrayals, but through quiet strength, unwavering principle, and an empathy that had always set him apart. And in these final episodes, the storytelling reached a level of poignancy that resonated deeply with fans, because it wasn't just about a character leaving a show. It was about the end of an era, about the intersection of love, loyalty, and moral courage, and about the ripple effects that one man's departure could have on a tightly knit world already teetering on the brink of emotional upheaval. And as Lawrence St. Victor's announcement was integrated into the fabric of the show, scenes unfolded with breathtaking intensity, showing Carter offering heartfelt advice to Hope, who, torn between her past with Thomas and her present with Liam, grappled with the reality that love was rarely simple, that forgiveness was not a single act, but a process, and that sometimes even the strongest hearts had to endure pain in order to find clarity, while Thomas, attempting to demonstrate growth and sincerity, navigated the minefield of hope, skepticism, family disapproval, and lingering resentment from past mistakes, all under the watchful eyes of lives of all the characters as the days in Los Angeles unfolded with an almost intolerable intensity, with rumors, speculation, and whispers spreading like wildfire throughout the sacred corridors of Forrester Creations and beyond. Fans, desperate to learn the reasons behind Carter Walton's departure, examined every scene, every word, and every glance for hints as his character had evolved into more than just a legal powerhouse. He was the steady heartbeat in a chaotic world, the confidant, the moral center, the person who reminded both the characters and the audience that amidst the love triangles, betrayals, corporate intrigue, and shocking twists, human decency still had a place. And now, as Lawrence prepared to bid farewell to the role that had defined a significant portion of his career, the showrunners orchestrated a narrative crescendo that intertwined Carter's final days with the seismic return of Thomas Forrester, whose presence in Los Angeles had reignited long, dormant passions, reopened old wounds, and forced every character connected to Hope to reevaluate their understanding of love, loyalty, and the fragility of trust. And Thomas's approach, so carefully calculated yet emotionally raw, demonstrated a new dimension to his character. A man who had made mistakes, whose actions had caused heartbreak and chaos in the past, now seeking to reconcile, to rebuild, and to prove to Hope that the bond they shared had never truly been severed. And this was particularly poignant because Hope, caught between the unwavering love and protection of Liam Spencer and the complicated redemptive charm of Thomas, had to navigate her own emotions while weighing the consequences of opening her heart once more to a man whose past had left indelible scars. And it was within this whirlwind of romantic tension, family dynamics, and moral quandaries that Carter's role became central. Because, even as he prepared for his departure, his actions, guidance, and unwavering loyalty became a stabilizing force for Hope, providing her with clarity in moments of confusion, strengthened moments of vulnerability, and a moral compass when the temptation of impulsive decisions threatened to upend everything she had fought to protect. And every interaction Carter had with Thomas was charged with subtle tension, because while he recognized Thomas's sincere desire for redemption, he also understood the potential for emotional upheaval, heartbreak, and repeated mistakes, and his counsel, delivered with gentle yet firm conviction, often served as the voice of reason in a storm of passion and uncertainty. And as the storyline progressed, viewers witnessed Carter navigating a delicate balance between personal emotion and professional responsibility, offering support to Hope while challenging Thomas to confront his past misdeeds and demonstrating to Liam the necessity of patience, understanding, and resilience in matters of the heart. And through it all, Lawrence St. Victor's portrayal imbued Carter with a gravitas, warmth, and intelligence that made his impending exit feel not like the disappearance of a character, but like the departure of a trusted friend, a mentor, and a moral anchor. And the emotional resonance of his storyline was amplified by carefully crafted scenes that juxtaposed Carter's impending farewell with Thomas and Hope's tentative reconnection, creating a narrative tension that left viewers on the edge of their seats, desperate to see how every choice would unfold, how every conversation would ripple through the web of relationships, and how the conclusion of Carter Walton's arc would ultimately honor the legacy of the character while providing closure to his complex journey. And as the narrative unfolded, fans were treated to intimate quiet moments that contrasted with the high-stakes drama, moments in which Carter reflected on his time in Los Angeles, on the friendships he had forged, the challenges he had faced, and the lives he had touched. And these reflective sequences were interwoven with explosive confrontations, heated arguments, and emotional reconciliations, creating a rich tapestry that underscored the depth of the show's storytelling and the nuanced performance of Lawrence St. Victor. And the storytelling genius was evident in the way Carter's final arc was constructed, allowing him to serve as both a catalyst for change and a stabilizing presence, mediating conflicts, offering heartfelt advice, and gently nudging characters toward truth and reconciliation even as he prepared to leave the screen. And the tension reached its zenith in scenes where Carter confronted Thomas directly, not as an adversary but as a moral sounding bored, challenging him to examine the consequences of his past actions, to take responsibility for the hurt he had caused, and to demonstrate that his desire for redemption was rooted in sincerity rather than convenience. And these moments were electrifying not just for their emotional intensity, but because they underscored the thematic heart of bold and the beautiful. That love, forgiveness, and growth are complicated, require effort, and often involve the intervention of those who care deeply, like Carter, who had spent years advocating for justice, fairness, and compassion. And now, in the twilight of his tenure, was ensuring that the characters he loved and the stories he had been part of would continue to resonate with authenticity and depth. And the narrative brilliance was further highlighted by the way Carter's guidance influenced Hope, whose internal struggle was both heart-wrenching and captivating, as she grappled with the undeniable connection she shared with Thomas, the unwavering loyalty she felt toward Liam, and the profound realization that her choices had the potential to reshape the lives of everyone around her. And as viewers watched her emotional journey, the contrast between impulsive passion and thoughtful consideration, between the desire to forgive and the fear of being hurt again, became palpable. And in these moments, Carter's influence was felt most strongly, providing a moral anchor, a voice of clarity, and a comforting presence that helped Hope navigate the treacherous waters of her heart. And as Lawrence St. Victor's departure loomed closer, the show took care to craft scenes that honored Carter's legacy. Scenes in